Hello everyone, this is Grade 4 Qatar History. Now we go to Unit 2, Islam in the Arabian Gulf region. Lesson 1 is about the rise of Islam in the Arabian Peninsula. So we begin with our objectives. First, we will describe key events during the appearance of Islam in the Arabian Peninsula. Second is we will trace Prophet Muhammad's, peace be upon him, line of ancestors. Ancestors mean members of his family that came before him. So third is describe key points in the stages of the call to Islam in Mecca. So let's begin with the rise of Islam and establishing or building the Islamic State in the Arabian Peninsula. 1. The appearance of Islam in the Arabian Peninsula. So how did it all begin? So before Islam, people in the Arabian Peninsula lived in what we call the Dark Ages, wherein they were ignorant or they lacked knowledge in terms of political, economic, social, and religious aspects of life. So because of this, there was a great need to a divine or holy message to save not only the Arab people, but all of humanity. So Arabs needed to be saved from weakness and ignorance and guided towards strength, unity, and enlightenment. So enlightenment means knowledge or wisdom about what is good and what is true. That message was Islam, a mercy for all humanity as stated by Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah, peace be upon him. Let's go to enriching information. So this would include certain facts about the childhood of Prophet Muhammad. In history, the rich people in Mecca used to send their newborn children so that they can live with Bedouin foster mothers. So these are adoptive mothers in the desert that would help the babies strengthen their bodies and be brought up in a healthier and stronger environment. So their training and their education in the desert started young. Muhammad was sent to live with Halima al-Sa'adiyah, who was the wet nurse that took care of him, and she belonged to the tribe of Bani Sa'ad. Now, let's have a look at Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, his family tree, or his line of ancestors. So as you can see, Prophet Muhammad's father was Abdullah and his mother was Amina. And his paternal grandfather was Abdul Muttalib. So these are the other people composing his family tree. These are his ancestors. Now let's discuss the stages of the call to Islam in Mecca. We have 3 stages. So the first is the stage of the secret call to Islam. So the call to Islam in Mecca was difficult during the first stage. Why? It's because the Prophet, peace be upon him, experienced many problems or difficulties in calling people to Islam. So what are these problems? He had to face hostilities and also refusal from his own people. So his own people at the beginning said no to him when he called them to Islam. Therefore, he secretly started inviting people to Islam for 3 years. And he began with his closest relatives or members of his family and also his friends and all the other people that he expected to help in his mission. The second stage was the stage of the open call to Islam. So now the Prophet, peace be upon him, began to invite people to Islam openly. So it is not anymore in secret. He started gathering followers. So he gathered the Meccans to call them to obey Allah and to reject idolatry. So when we say idolatry, it's the worshipping of other gods. They reacted to this call with refusal and pride. So they didn't want to say yes to Muhammad because it was difficult for the Quraysh leaders to reject idolatry. It was part of their tradition. It was part of their customs. Their parents and grandparents believed in it. So the Quraysh leaders wanted to keep their position with other Arab tribes as well, because these people went on pilgrimages to also worship idols around the Kaaba. Okay, but Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, still continued to invite them to Islam openly for 10 years. Now let's go to the third stage of the call to Islam. So you have the Muslims' migration to Habasha, also called the Hijrah or departure and migration. Some early Muslims migrated or went from Mecca to Habasha land because of the harm they faced from Quraysh leaders. So if you would remember, these Quraysh leaders in the previous open call to Islam were the ones who were practicing idol worshipping. So the Prophet invited them to leave to Habasha, praising the king for being fair because he has accepted the Muslims under his care. So the first migration to Habasha was in Ragab in the 5th year of the mission. Muslim immigrants' number was not much back then. It was only 12 men and 4 women. In Habasha, they were told that because people converted to Islam, so some of them returned to that place, but they found that this was incorrect. So they returned to Habasha again with another group from Mecca, and that was the second migration. So during the second migration, the number has increased, and there were already 84 men and 19 women led by Ja'afar bin Abi Talib. So if you would look at the map, this was how the migration went. This was the route of migration to Abyssinia. So they came from Mecca to escape the harms and the threats of the Quraysh leaders, and they went to Aksum, okay, or they went to Habasha so that they can be safe and they can continue with the mission. So let's wrap it up. The call to Islam was not easy for Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, at first. So he started inviting people secretly, and then he started inviting them openly during the second stage. And because of the threats that they faced, they had to migrate from Mecca to Habasha land. So we will continue our discussion, and you can check out our reference Qatar History and Citizenship Grade 4 for more information about this lesson. So I will see you in the next video.